I'm Josh Milton, and this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of October 24th, 25th, and 26th. On today's show, a look at one of the many volunteer opportunities here at Shell Point that'll benefit your life quest. But first, the Employee Christmas Gift is a great way to show your support of the staff at Shell Point that works year-round to make your life better, and contributions are now being accepted. If you'd like to learn more about this wonderful way to say thank you, contact Employee Christmas Fund Committee Chairman Dick Wright at 226-1011. On Friday, head over to the Grand Cypress Room at the Woodlands for Chowder Fest. Try a sampling of 3 types of chowder for just $5. Chowder Fest gets started at 12 o'clock and sign-ups are required. On Saturday, check out the annual Southwest Florida Yard and Garden Show in Collier County. Many educational speakers and master gardeners will be on hand to talk to you, and tours of the gardens will also be available. It's $12 with pickup starting at 8 o'clock in the morning on the island. Sign-ups are required, and you'll return to Shell Point at around 2 o'clock. And on Monday, take part in the latest T3 class, HD TV Possibilities with iPad. Learn how to connect your iPad with your HD TV and see what options abound. The class is $5 and will be presented by Bruce Finley of Sundial. It runs from 10:15 until 11:45 on Monday morning in the Manatee Room on the island. Sign-ups are required. Here at Shell Point, there are many opportunities to fulfill the community and social dimension of your life quest. One of them is by volunteering with the Library Committee of the Pavilion Auxiliary.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath, and I'm here to share with you the good news about the fact that we have a library in the Larson Pavilion. We're on the first floor in front of the library, but this is not the only place that the library happens. I'm with our chairman, Renee Maxwell of Harbor Court. Thanks for joining me, Renee.
I'm glad to be here.
We love to talk about the library because it's such a personal thing and such a choice that you give residents about what they would like to read.
I call it our library on the go. We have our main library right here, and this is where we keep our books. We get our books accessioned and put all of our new ones here, and then the people that take the books around on the cart come and get their books from here, and then they take the book cart all around. I have 4 people that go every week that go to floors 1, 3, and 4. Besides showing them and getting them books and getting their interest in books, they're a little contact person that talks with them. And one of the ladies just said the other day, she said, not that many took books today, but I talked to everybody. And that's really a big purpose of what we do.
That's wonderful. Now, how do you have a lot of books, right? This is just...
I'd say we have at least 1,000 books, and we have 2 carts full here, plus out. Our residents and our employees all use this library.
Do you use magazines,
we
newspapers?
use magazines, newspapers. We have magazines that are on our cart. We have magazines here, and a lot of times on the first floor, the people that are not here a long time will want to, just take a magazine, even if they're just going to therapy or something. So we keep those kind of up to date. And we try to keep our books up to date, and a lot of times some of our residents, when they're leaving, they'll say, can you use some books when I'm leaving? I'm like, yes, we'll take your books, So we take books from wherever we can.
Here I am speaking with Janet Waite of Harbor Court and Helen Van Buskirk of Solana.
Right.
And you two are what we call cart pushers for the library committee. Janet, how long have you been doing this?
It's about 2 years now. I've been at Shell Point 2.5 years.
So you got right into it.
Got right into it. I live in the court with Renee.
Oh, no more needs to be said, right? What do you like about taking the library cart around?
Well, the best part is visiting with the residents. I don't give everybody a book because some people aren't up to it, but I make it a point to have a little visit with each one, try to get acquainted with them and just find out about them. And then we work into what author you would like to read or what kind of books you like.
It really is a library coming to you right in your home.
It absolutely is. And if I don't have the book they want on the cart, I come out here and search and then go back to them. So try to get everybody matched with a book that can read one.
Super. Helen, how long have you been doing this?
I figured today that it's 9 years.
9 years. It's changed a lot, huh?
I came 9 years ago in October, and I started that next spring after going to one of your orientations, and you had a long list of volunteer jobs, and the minute I heard that one, that's for me.
You're a book lover?
I love books, I love reading, and I love talking to the residents, anyone who is here, and we're talking just not about the books, but about their lives. Somehow or other, a character in a book will be, familiar to them, and they get gabbing, and I love it.
That's so fabulous. Well, we can see why this is such a popular thing and why there's smiles on faces when you ladies walk in with your cart. Thank you. Renee, we just want to thank you because it's a wonderful thing you and your volunteers are doing to not only deliver the books, the magazines, and the newspapers, but to deliver the friendliness that auxiliary volunteers are known for.
And that's our biggest part. And we're grateful and we enjoy it. And if there is anyone there that would like to come and join us, you're very welcome. Come and see us. Thank you so much.
Coming up, we're going to replay some of the best stories from earlier this week on Shell Point Today. But before we do that, let's cover all of this weekend's happenings, academy news, menus, and church news.
Hi, I'm Jill Aldrink, and I'm here with Bev Chandley with our weekend edition of the happenings. We start our Friday with 8 o'clock men's match play doubles tennis at the tennis courts, and the stamp ministry meets in the stamp room at 8:15. The marketplace is in the administration courtyard from 8:30 until 11:30. And at 9:15, the Pavilion Auxiliary Orientation will be taking place in the Osprey Room. Canasta and Samba are played on the second floor lobby of the Woodlands at 9:30. And at 10 o'clock, the men's match play doubles tennis will be meeting at the tennis courts. Inquiring Minds meets in the Manatee Room on the island at 10:15. And at 12 o'clock, we have the Chowder Fest. Sign up is required. That will be taking place in the Grand Cypress Room in the Woodlands. Mixed Progressive Bridge is played in the game room at the Woodlands at 12:30. And at 1:15, you can play advanced table tennis in the Tarpon Room, and the Quilters will be meeting in the Osprey Room. At 1:30 until 3:30, the Model Train Room is open in the tunnel on the island. At 1:30, Vespers will be meeting in the Community Room at the Arbor. And at 2 o'clock, Bid Euchre is played in the Sable Room. At 2:15, head on out to the LifeQuest Aquatic Center for water volleyball. You can play or you can just cheer on those who are playing. At 2:30, we have Latin Size in the Health Club on the island. Vespers meets at 2:30 in the Community Room at King's Crown. Vespers will also be meeting at 3:30 at the Springs. And our final Friday event is game night in the Resident Activity Center on the island. They begin playing at 6:45. Here's Bev with what's happening tomorrow.
Thanks, Jill. We start out at 7:30 with the Health Connections class, Walk to End Alzheimer's. There'll be court pickups with the bus at 7:30 on the island, 7:40 at the Woodlands, and 7:50 at Eagles Preserve. You can find the pickleball game going on at 8 o'clock down at the island. Also at 8 o'clock, we have the round robin doubles tennis. That'll be in the tennis courts at the Woodlands. 8 o'clock, it's a trip to the Southwest Florida Yard and Garden Show. The court pickups begin at 8 o'clock on the island, 8:10 at Woodlands, and 8:20 for Eagles Preserve residents. Sign up is required. At 9:30, we have the men's doubles tennis at the Woodlands tennis courts, as well as the women's doubles tennis. 9:45, duplicate bridge will be played in the Manatee Room on the island. 10:15, we have the Model Yacht Sailing Club at the Garden Apartment Pond on the island. We're going to jump to 1 o'clock for the chess game. That'll be in the Library Lounge at the Resident Activity Center. Scrabble will be also played at 1:15 in the Library Lounge. And table tennis will be played at 1:15, but that's down in the Tarpon Room, which is in the tunnel. That'll be open all weekend unless otherwise noted. At 3:15, basic line dancing will be in the Health Club. And our last Saturday activity is Duplicate Bridge in the Manatee Room at 6:30. Here's Jill for Sunday activities.
Thanks. We start our Sunday morning at 9 o'clock with the Christian Life Studies in the game room at the Woodlands. And also at 9 o'clock, Christian Life Studies will also be taking place at the Village Church. Join us at 10:15 for morning worship at the Village Church. And 3:15 is ballroom line dancing for beginners. You can find that at the Health Club on the island. We wrap up our Sunday evening with the evening worship service at the Village Church at 6:15. Thank you for joining us for the weekend edition of What's Happening here at Shell Point. We'll see you on Monday.
Hi, I'm Terry Colath with your Academy information for the weekend. On Friday at 10 o'clock, we have smartphones, iPhones, in the Sable Room of the Woodlands. At 1 o'clock, making greeting cards with Print Shop in the Computer Center at the Woodlands. Let me tell you what's coming next week. On Monday, AARP Smart Driver course with Ed Vanderhey of Coquina. Russia Under the Tsars Session 3 with Seth Mendel of Teledora. This time the focus is on Empress Elizabeth and Catherine the Great. Then on Tuesday, Academy on the Go, the Billy Swamp Safari at the Seminole Reservation. And a computer college course, Writing Memoirs, with 2 Lakewood residents, Lucille Peterson and Marty Gibson. We also have Marathon and Thermopylae, Why Do They Matter?, with Professor Adrian Kerr. And Dick Brown of Parkwood begins math for those who never liked math.
Menus for your weekend. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter on Friday is baked flounder with peas and creamed rice. The dinner special is the seafood buffet for $15.95, and the soup of the day is pasta fagioli. In the Island Cafe for lunch, the special is a turkey Reuben with fries for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are lamb chops for $22.95 or stuffed flounder for $16.95. On Saturday, the Crystal Room is closed. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Saturday, the special is a chili cheese dog with baked beans and fries for $7.25. The dinner special is stuffed pork pancetta with mashed potatoes and broccoli for $8.25. The dinner special in the Palm Grill on Saturday is prime rib for $19.95. On Sunday, the Crystal Room features its Sunday brunch for $17.50. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Sunday, the special is a turkey Cobb salad wrap with chips for $7.25. The dinner special is Chef's Choice for $8.25. And the Palm Grill is closed on Sundays. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Welcome to Village Church Connections. I'm here with Pastor Andy Hawkins, and we're looking forward to a good weekend together.
Always.
Always. We're finally going to get to that mysterious Old Testament character.
That's true. We've been teasing about Melchizedek for weeks on end, haven't we?
Is that a name that means something?
Well, it certainly does, but it's important to recognize that it's just not me that's been doing the teasing. The author of the book of Hebrews has been doing the teasing. He's dropped this name a few times without really getting into an explanation of it.
Absolutely.
And so finally, when we get to chapter 7, we actually do get an explanation from it.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing that.
That's right, and so it's going to be exciting. Well, it's a strange character. He's a strange character. He's only mentioned in the Old Testament on 2 occasions. He's mentioned in Genesis. He's mentioned in one of the Psalms. And then he shows up big time in the book of Hebrews.
Exactly.
And so if that's the case, then obviously the author knows something that we need to know, and it really has to do not so much with Melchizedek, but with who Jesus is.
Exactly.
And it's a pretty critical piece of information about Jesus. And so I'm excited to finally get to it. It's really one of my favorite parts of the book of Hebrews because of what it does in elucidating the person and work of the Lord Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm sure a lot of the congregation will be.
They will be too.
It's been a long time coming.
That's right. And of course we have the other things that we normally have with our wonderful worship services. The choir will be singing, and we'll certainly spend time in prayer and really engaging with the people in singing and those kinds of things. So we're looking forward to a great morning worship service once again.
And how about the evening service?
Well, the evening service is going to be exciting as well, I think. We've been engaged in a series on the parables. we've been calling them parables for preparation. We were sort of preparing ourselves spiritually to be back in the sanctuary, but even now that we're back in the newly renovated sanctuary, we're continuing that series, and because it's been really educational, I think, for us to see what Jesus was driving at in various ways. And this Sunday evening we'll be talking about two parables that are very closely related to one another, the parable of the mustard seed and the parable of the leaven. Both things illustrating something small that can become something very significant and influential. And so I think it's two of those parables that I think really help us understand what the kingdom of God is like, what the Lord does for us, and how really small things can make an enormous difference in the long run.
So if people want to prepare, they can read Matthew 13 before they come.
That's correct.
Excellent. Is there any special music Sunday night?
There is. We have our men's quartet who go by the name of By Grace Alone. And they're going to be singing and leading worship, but also singing some songs themselves. And so we're looking forward to that.
Excellent. People really appreciated them last time.
Back by popular demand.
Yes, well, that's good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So exciting weekend, and of course, you'll be emceeing the evening service.
Oh, I will.
I think so.
Oh, good. Well, it's nice to be able to prepare ahead of time. Thank you for tuning in to Village Church Connections.
Now, a look back at some of the best stories from the past week. Close to 3,000 people shopped till they dropped at last year's Holiday Bazaar at the Woodlands, thanks to all of the fabulous items on sale. So what's in store for this year? Here's Melody Desolé and Karen Hubbard.
Hi Shell Point, I'm Melody Desolé, joined today by co-chair of the Holiday Bazaar, Karen Hubbard from Lakewood. She's filling in for Barbara Hilton, and she has some great exciting news for us about the Holiday Bazaar coming up soon. Hi Karen, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Now Karen, would you tell our lovely residents when this Holiday Bazaar takes place?
Yes, the Holiday Bazaar is Friday, October 31st and Saturday, November 1st from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right here in the Woodlands at the Commons.
And we are standing outside the Commons. Now all this activity is going to be hustling and bustling right inside those doors. Karen, tell me how many participants we have.
Well, we have over 50 participants this year covering both floors in the Commons, so we really have quite a show this year.
Now, when we're talking about participants, we're talking about very talented residents of Shell Point, right?
Yes.
We don't allow outside vendors. This is strictly our residents.
Exactly. All of the items are handmade by Shell Point residents. The items will be distributed in all of the areas, so there will be jewelry in different rooms, there'll be woodworking in different rooms, pottery in different rooms, so you need to come and see it all to make sure you don't miss anything.
Do you have any holiday items, seeing as how it is the Holiday Bazaar?
Yes. We have pottery, ceramics that are a holiday theme. We'll have wreaths, we'll have decorated bags, some children's things for holidays.
If people want to make a day of it, of course, they're going to have some transportation from the parking lots. We have golf carts circulating, so they have a nice, easy ride over to the Commons. But once they get here and they're finished shopping, what can they do beyond shopping?
Well, the restaurants at the Commons will both be open. The Promenade will be open on Saturday as well as Friday, and of course the Palm Grill will be open. So a visitor could have anything from just a cup of coffee or a soft drink to a dessert, a sandwich, or a full meal, and all of the restaurants are wonderful.
Well, Karen, this sounds so exciting, and I thank you so much for joining me about this exciting Holiday Bazaar that we have going on. Again, Shell Point, that is Friday and Saturday, October 31st and November 1st. It happens from 10 to 3 both days. Come on over here because we had record-breaking numbers last year. We had over 2,600 participants. So you want to come here early, get the good deals, get the great stuff. And as Karen mentioned, there is something for everyone, and we know that you'll enjoy it. Thank you so much for joining us here today.
Joe Bedell and his crew in the facilities department are working on improvements here at Shell Point. Here's a look at their latest project taking place on the island.
These are the new LED lights that we're putting on the perimeter of the island, replacing the old acorn-style lights. They are 78 watts each. The old ones are about 150 watts, so we're using less than half the voltage. We'll have more light coming out of them. The lights have about 100,000 hours of life to them, where the old ones had to replace the bulb every 2,000 hours. So from a maintenance point of view, it's just much more efficient. We're not constantly out there fixing broken lights. We have 35 of them to do in this budget year, which should put us back past the mid-rise buildings. And next year we'll do another 35 until we get them all around the island. They're more efficient because there's a downlight on here. There's 2 LED bulbs up top, and they'll spread the light on the roadway and on the walkway rather than just spread it out into the atmosphere. It's not shining into residents' apartments then, it's shining down on the ground. Total on the island is about 120 if we do all the parking lots and the perimeter. Like I said, we're doing 35 at this first phase on this budget year. Next fiscal year, we'll do another 35 or 40, whatever we can afford, until we get them all around the island. We have to pour a new base in here and put new anchor bolts. So it's an involved process where we have to dig up the old base, pour a new 24-inch one around the old base, pin it all together, pour the concrete, mount these 10-inch by 3/4-inch anchor bolts, which will secure these poles. And we're hoping to do 2 to 4 of them a week. You know, working within our schedule. We don't have anyone dedicated to this job, just as we can fit it into our schedule, we'll handle them that way. We raise the bases up so that when they're weed whacking around here, they're not hitting the bottom of the poles and beating up the bases like you see all around the island. It just makes a nicer look. It also keeps the water out from the poles. I just think everybody will be happier with them. It's basically the same lights that we have put in the pool and around the pavilion. So we're just going to continue them around the island until we get everything replaced.
On Tuesday, the Rehabilitation Center's speech therapy program will be discussed in a Health Connections class. Here with a preview are Mary Franklin and speech therapist Kate Martin.
I'm Mary Franklin, here today with a Health Connections program that will take place on Tuesday, October 28th at 10:15 a.m. in the Social Center. Our special guest presenter will be Kate Martin from our very own speech therapy department here at Shell Point in the Rehab Center. Kate, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Now, you have had a wonderful start being here. This is your first job, correct?
Yes, it is.
And we're so excited because you have such wonderful education. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your education.
I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I just moved down here in January after I graduated from Kent State University.
Okay. And we highlighted you in a recent Shell Point Life magazine, and you have a special certification. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I just received a certification in July for LSVT Loud, and it's a voice treatment for designed specifically for Parkinson's patients, and it goes over increasing their vocal loudness, which is one of the bigger impacts that Parkinson's has on people.
Wonderful. And you're continuing with more certifications. In November, you're getting ready to receive another certification. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Yeah, I will be trained in vital stimulation therapy, which basically hooks electrodes up to the different muscles for swallowing, kind of retrains your brain to make sure you're swallowing safely and strengthen those muscles for swallowing.
Okay. Now, you and I talked a little bit before doing this interview, and you said that swallowing is about 95% of your visits with residents have to deal with strengthening their muscles for swallowing. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the people that come over to the pavilion end up just having an overall general weakness. And a lot of people don't realize the impact that has also on your swallowing. Just like the muscles in your legs, if you're not using them a lot, they get weak, just like the muscles in your throat get weak too. So we do a bunch with rehab for using strategies and strengthening for the muscles for swallowing.
I found that quite interesting because one of the requests we had for the Health Connections was residents wanted to get certified in the Heimlich maneuver because either they themselves have issues with swallowing or their friends or a loved one, and they want to be prepared. So it really is a big issue out there on campus. Right. Now, this program that you're going to be doing on Tuesday, October 28th, are you going to be covering everything you do with speech therapy and kind of giving a 101 on speech therapy here at Shell Point?
I'll be going over the basics of what I do. Some of the main categories I treat are swallowing disorders, speech disorders, cognition, so memory, problem-solving, orientation type tasks, and then voice treatment.
Well, if you would like to sign up for this program, you can do so at either of the service desks. A reminder, it's Tuesday, October 28th at 10:15 a.m. in the Social Center. I'm Mary Franklin, along with Kate Martin. Make it a happy and healthy day.
Helping others improve their lives. That's the story of Lakewood's Lana Smith. We spoke with her recently about her journey from child immigrant to educator of presidential children.
I was a teacher at the National Cathedral School, and the year that I was appointed senior class advisor, Lucy Johnson was in that class, together with quite a core of daughters from families whose parents had significant positions in Washington and also from the international community. When it came time in the fall actually of 1964, the senior class was planning its senior weekend, which was a tradition at the end of the school year, just before their graduation exercises. And it was actually a series of small private parties for the seniors and for their dates in the home of someone in the classroom. And that is the instance when, at one of these class meetings, which we held every week, Lucy Johnson stood up and said, "Why don't you all come down to my house?" And you think about the normalcy that you're supposed to keep, and how everything has to just be low-key and normal. And she meant it. She was an absolute delight. She was totally authentic. She was perpetually shadowed with the Secret Service from her junior year, actually, when Johnson became president. Eventually, with a lot of communication back and forth with Mrs. Johnson, who was very gracious about the whole thing, but basically told Lucy not to make any more exuberant invitations. The party did take place on Friday, April the 30th. There's an invitation that every single senior member received, and that my husband and I received also, because we were the sponsors of the advisors of the class. Everyone was on their very best behavior. We were served pretzels and soda pop, very low key. And in the midst of this nice evening, the doors were open, so technically we could go out into the Rose Garden for a walk. The dates could go out. We heard down the hallway the rumble of chains and leashes and these massive footsteps. And President Johnson arrived on the scene just really to see whether Lucy was having a good time. And it was wonderful. He was, for all of his 6'4" frame, he was incredibly gracious. He hugged everybody. He spent maybe 5 minutes, and then he retired. So we felt that the weekend had gotten off to a perfect start. For many of us, because we worked, and many of these students lived in the District of Columbia, not in the suburbs, there was something there that I think piqued the students' curiosity. One of the first projects for the National Cathedral School that took them off this wonderful, very cloistered world was a project that I actually started at National Cathedral in 1969, an independent study project, which basically took the seniors for 2 weeks every February out of the classroom and placed them in a work-study position within an area that they were interested in. Some wanted to go into teaching, some wanted to work in the hospital, some wanted to go into journalism, and so, you know, we had that. What came back from that was, again, more questions about the city. Where was it safe to go by public transportation? Where was it not safe? How come this was like this or like that? How do you bring them together? They're coming from very different socioeconomic backgrounds. And how do you get them involved in a part of the city in researching some history about Washington, the District of Columbia, the city that was not the federal city. And this little booklet actually summarizes the 5 teams that came to be, and they selected Capitol Hill because aside from Capitol Hill and the Congress and the Senate building and the Supreme Court and all that, there's a whole residential neighborhood that's been behind that for decades, centuries. They've decided to research Columbia Heights, that had actually been a very prominent and a very elegant, in the late 1800s, early 1900s neighborhood. One group wanted to research the Southwest waterfront. So they had selected their neighborhoods. We basically decided to put them out there with nothing more than a good set of instructions and a steno pad. One group from the Southwest waterfront, they came back, and this one young woman whom I still remember today, she said, "Miss Smith, there ain't no history down there." And I said, "No, I don't think so. We walked it, and all we could find were apartment buildings, 2 fancy restaurants, and that was it." So what had happened is that the old Southwest waterfront, which was teeming with business and activity and fishing and everything, had actually died out, and by 1951 that part of the city had been redeveloped. And so I said, "Well, you're just going to have to go back, Gloria." I said, "You're going to have to take a second look. Did you go by a church?" "Somehow, yeah, maybe back in that street." "Did you go by a police department?" "Yeah." "Did you go by a harbor police little office?" "Uh-huh." "Did you go by a firehouse?" "Yes." I said, "Well, just go dig deeper." And there, what actually did happen was many things. They learned, we sent them to the Library of Congress. We taught them how to do research there. It became known, the Woodson National Cathedral Cultural Heritage Project was just that 1 year. 75, we opened the doors also to other private schools. So we had students from Murray who joined us. There were students from another public high school. And so it flourished. And 10 years later, the culmination, not of just this project, but we were a small part of much of what was happening in the District of Columbia in terms of trying to capture the old stories and the photographs and everything before the city became completely redeveloped, before a lot of this was lost, before the people had died off, that you could interview about what was life like in 1920. And so there were many, many efforts. And the compilation was the actual first textbook of the history of the District of Columbia, called City of Magnificent Intentions, which was published in '83. And I think that by coming to the United States as an immigrant, somebody who was not U.S., and having my father for so many years say, "This is the country of opportunity. This is where we will be free," left kind of a sense of, I would like to go where whatever knowledge, whatever I have, that I can impart to students, to young people. Let me go that way.
Shell Point Today recently got an exclusive look at the new photo studio and gallery on the island. Here's what you can expect to see when the doors open on November 4th.
So what do you think of your new gallery and studio?
I think Shell Point did a fabulous job, and they just built it the way I was hoping it would be, and it's really a vision come true. And it's just great. And I think we're going to be able to use this in so many ways that Shell Point residents can really learn photography, and it's just fabulous. It's a photography club, and we some very generous people made contributions and dues, and we paid for it. But we're going to have a thing called a portrait, that we're going to be doing portraits for residents and eventually for employees, where they can come down here and get a portrait of their grandchildren when they're visiting, and we're going to do it as inexpensively as we can. It'll be like $25 for a half an hour shooting, and all the pictures will be put on a disc, and they can take it home and do whatever they want with it. It's a little late for this year, but next year we hope to have a Christmas setting, and people will come in and have their Christmas pictures taken for Christmas cards. So we're going to be doing all of that kind of stuff, you know.
I love it. I think it has so much potential. As far as I think it's a lot of learning, there's a lot of learning experience here, and you know, for people who are interested in taking classes.
I love it. Herb and I sat down for lunch 2 years ago and talked about this, and he pushed and he pushed and he pushed. He's a pusher. He's very, very excitable, and he was in the photography business as an art director, so he knew all about it. And we went from one thing to another. Then when the studio finally came about, I said, I have an idea. Let's take pictures of everybody in Shell Point. We'll open a photo studio, and we'll have income to buy whatever we need. Boom, that all took off. And now we're tied up to here. We will be up to here taking pictures of all the residents and the employees and maybe outsiders, and have fun.
We are so excited. When Herb came to the photo club last year with this vision, none of us could even imagine it. But to walk in this room, to see a place where many of us are going to be able to exhibit our work, and then to walk into the studio and see all the opportunities for learning. I can't wait to learn how to use that still life table. I've never done still life. I don't know the creative function and how you put things together. I'm excited about that. The educational opportunities that people will have for the portraits, and also just to experiment with software that we're going to bring in, and people who've never done it at home, they'll get a chance to say, hey, I can take my photo and do this. Wow, this is worthwhile. We have a few people that have done photography professionally, but most of us in the club are amateurs, and to have the opportunity to use professional equipment and be trained by people who have done this professionally, it's just amazing.
It's a wonderful addition to Shell Point. We have opportunities for all kinds of residents who want to do all kinds of things, and it is a representation again of the interest that is so vivid and active throughout Shell Point, and makes for a great place for people to have not only have new friends, but take on new responsibilities and new opportunities. So one of the things that Shell Point has always been successful in doing is trying to work with and to capture the interests and abilities of our residents.
A new support group is about to get underway here at Shell Point that will help caregivers cope by sharing experiences and hosting uplifting programs. Here with more on Finding Joy are Mary Franklin and Jane Johnston.
I'm Mary Franklin, here today with resident Jane Johnston to talk about a new support group that is forming called Finding Joy. Their first meeting is going to take place on Thursday, October 30th at 1:45 p.m. in the Manatee Room. Jane, thanks for being here today.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Well, let's tell the residents a little bit about you. How many years have you been living at Shell Point now?
We've lived here about 1.5 years.
Okay. And what did you do before you moved to Shell Point?
Before I was a physical therapist, and I'm retired now. I had my own practice, my husband and I did, and so I've done therapy for a lot of years.
Right. Well, good. Now, you came to me interested in starting the Finding Joy support group, which is interesting. Finding joy is inspiring. Why did you decide that this support group needed to be called Finding Joy, and who should come?
Well, I've been a caregiver for years. By being a physical therapist, I've been a caregiver, and I've been a caregiver in my own family. And I also had a health issue that was pretty severe, and I became the person being cared for, which is not nearly as much fun.
No.
And what I discovered in that is there's great joy to be found. And sometimes we don't see it because we're so overwhelmed with our feelings of grief or sadness or just being overwhelmed with the tasks that we need to do. But there really is joy. Right. And so that's where I came up with the idea.
Okay, so caregivers are encouraged to go, and those that had attended in the past the Walk With Me support group would really appreciate this group, right?
Oh, yes, I think so.
Okay.
It would be great if they came.
Okay, now you gave me a little sneak peek about what's to come in the future. The first session is really a get-to-know-you event, but you're planning on having guest speakers and special programs each time you meet?
Yes, and I'm really excited. I don't have a firm schedule on anybody, but right now the group from Shell Point on the new respite program, they're going to be coming and talking about that. I'm also really excited. I'm working with Lee Memorial, and they are, I already have a music therapist scheduled to talk to us about how music changes our lives. And we also have Tai Chi, and Bev Chandley's going to be talking to us about how we can change our energy around us just by movement. Right. And I have another topic that I'm hoping to talk with someone in the behavioral department about holidays and families.
Very important. Another great aspect to this group is you're asking everyone to come a little bit early. The official start time is 1:45.
Correct.
But you're saying come on a little early. Come to the manatee room at 1:30.
Right. So we can visit and and so I can get to know everybody.
Right. Right. So that's going to be a great opportunity, and we'll have some coffee and pastries there, so it kind of lightens the mood a little bit, and everybody will get to know each other. And this is really going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So anybody who's a full-time caregiver, part-time caregiver, anyone who is giving of themselves, this would be a great session for them.
It would be wonderful, and people maybe who are no longer caregiving but have got wonderful insight to share with the rest of us.
That would be great and inspiring. Well, you're an inspiring lady, Jane. Thank you for being here today. If you would like to come to this support group, the first one will take place on Thursday, October 30th at 1:45 p.m. in the Manatee Room. So for each monthly update, you want to check your Shell Point Life to find out when the next meetings will be. I'm Mary Franklin, along with Jane Johnston. Have a wonderful day.
The week of November 17th through the 21st will be an exciting time here at Shell Point. Our signature event, Fantasy of Flight, takes place, and there will be plenty of fun and exciting activities for everyone. With more on what to expect, here's Mary Franklin.
The Resident Life Team is proud to present the 2014 signature event, Fantasy of Flight. The community-wide event will be a great way to come together as a community, to be entertained, to learn, to compete, and to celebrate Shell Point. Join your friends and neighbors for the week of Fantasy of Flight. The week kicks off with an outdoor celebration on Monday, November 17th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. around the island pond. Get up close and personal with a hot air balloon and be entertained with high-flying juggling, bubble blowers, and airbrush artists. You want to head out to the island beach where you will be amazed by the windsurfers, kiteboarders, and even a special surprise. The Wizard of Whistling will entertain everyone with his whistling virtuoso. There will be snacks and drinks stations set out throughout the event. This is certainly going to be an uplifting event to kick off the week. Fly to new volunteering heights as you discover uplifting ways to contribute your time and talents outside of Shell Point. An aerial view of volunteering in Southwest Florida will be an uplifting event in the Resident Activity Center and outside in the administration courtyard. 25 booths will be set up on Tuesday, November 17th from 9:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. with representatives from various organizations such as Lee Memorial Health Systems, Lee County Schools, Alliance for the Arts, and the Humane Society of Fort Myers. Lee County Parks and Recreation will also be there. Make sure to discover an opportunity to elevate your volunteer goals with giveaways, light refreshments, and knowledgeable representatives. You will have an opportunity to give of your time and talents. Back from a conference from the Mosquito Control Association, T. Wayne Gale, Executive Director of Lee County Mosquito Control District, will discuss up-to-the-minute information about the 2 latest diseases we're currently worried about, the West Nile virus and the chikungunya fever. The Academy of Lifelong Learning course will take place on Tuesday, November 18th at 2 p.m. in the Grand Cypress Room. Sign-up is required. Maybe you've heard on WGCU, I'm Jerry Jackson with the Wild Things. Dr. Jerry Jackson is a WGCU broadcaster, an FGCU professor, and a lecturer, and he will be discussing one of the birds common to our area. We are delighted in this presentation. You'll have an hour and a half to hear about our birds from this eminent authority. The Academy is hosting the Fantasy of Flight presentation, The Birds of Southwest Florida, on Wednesday morning in the Grand Cypress Room at 10 a.m. Don't forget to sign up at either service desk. Aviation in Southwest Florida has evolved into quite an industry over the last 60 years. Taking flight in Southwest Florida, Behind the Scenes Tour International Airport will foster your curiosity and answer some of the questions you may have about modern air transportation. The group will attend a classroom-style presentation focusing on the airport history and social and economic benefits and impact on our region. Subject to availability, the Airport Police Department K-9 Unit and Transportation Security Administration will join us in the classroom. Lunch will be at the Olive Garden afterwards. Court pickup starts at 8 a.m., so make sure you sign up for this event that takes place on Wednesday, November 19th. The Fantasy of Flight Day continues with an evening with light-hearted entertainment at the Village Church at 7:15. The staff will be sharing their personal, hilarious travel adventures to illustrate their experiences. You will enjoy seeing some of the most memorable escapades from TV shows with Carol Burnett, Tim Conway, Bob Newhart, and others. Come aboard Flight TVC 715. You'll be glad you did. The Fantasy of Flight Week would not be complete without some friendly competition. On Thursday morning in the church, individuals, courts, or groups of residents are challenged to design and create your own airplanes. You will actually be flying them off the second floor balcony. So start designing your planes now. You must sign up because at 9:45 Thursday, second floor of the church, remember, you're going to fly your airplane. Awards will be given to the most creative plane, the best plane name, and the plane that goes the furthest. Sign up at either service desk today and start building your plane. The week-long celebration wraps up with a virtual visit to the last frontier. Dr. Wei-Ping Yu, a senior scientist and physicist at NASA Kennedy Space Center in Florida since 2002, will be presenting Unlocking the Mysteries of the Universe on Friday, November 21st at 1:15 p.m. in the church auditorium. He is a member of the American Physical Society and also a member to the American Astronautics and American Society of Mechanical Engineers. He is a frequent speaker at the Kennedy Space Center and at various events sponsored by NASA. Shell Point is honored to host such an acclaimed speaker right here on property. For more information about Fantasy of Flight activities taking place at the Arbor, Kings Crown, and the Springs, please refer to each building's newsletters. I'm Mary Franklin, and I am taking off and looking forward to seeing you at the Fantasy of Flight. Clear prop!
Well, that about does it for another exciting week of Shell Point Today. We're glad you joined us for our show. Tune in again next week for more news and stories from around your community. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for the weekend of October 24th, 25th, and 26th. I'm Josh Milton, and for all of us at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.